Welcome to another live stream, Legends. Well, guys, we are seeing a little bit of a correction in the market the last few days. Is it time to worry, or is this a healthy pullback as part of a much longer and bigger bull market at this point? I'm personally not too worried about the price action at this point. I do see reasons why we could go significantly lower, but overall, I think the market is just in a beautiful position. So I'm going to actually start by zooming right out to the weekly. One reason why I say that I think we could go significantly lower is because we have that big, ugly, bearish divergence on the RSI that you guys know I love to point out. And I mean, I was even pretty bearish on it when we had this one back here, but right now it's actually way cleaner off that 70 line and seeing a perfect rejection here. So yeah, at this point, we're getting a pretty serious bearish divergence, and that's on the weekly chart, right? So it's a significant signal in my opinion. The only reason why I'm not super bearish on this, I'm willing to accept the fact that I think it's quite likely we drop further, but I'm not actually bearish on it because we don't have bearish break in structure at this point. We haven't lost a higher low even on the micro trend of this. Obviously it's a longer time frame on the weekly here, but we're still holding a beautiful uptrend. We don't have a double top formation, nothing like that going with this divergence. So that's where I think that, yeah, pullback's quite likely. And also, I was talking about this on my last stream, you guys. These white lines here, these are the highs along the trend, right? So this would have been our high. Slightly higher high with this wick here, a little bit of a pullback, but just a kind of a bit of a swing fail actually. But either way, this was our high. This is a higher high, and looking at the lowest point between the two, this was our high on the trend at that point. That was when we bottomed around 74.5k, somewhere in there. But at this point, we've actually set another higher high, and that brought our confirmed higher low. Not just assuming this is a higher low, but a confirmed higher low, because we have this structure break, and not even just a wick this time, actual candle body closes. So at this point, as you can see, I have my fib laid out. This is my new range, right? If this is my confirmed higher low, and I'm pulling the fib to our current higher high, if this was a 5-minute chart, if I was looking at longing this right now, I would be wanting a pullback into this fib pocket. So that's pretending this is not a weekly chart, right? Let's just pretend this is a 5-minute chart. We don't actually care what these numbers are. We're looking at the actual structure here. I would be looking for a pullback there. And that doesn't mean that it's always going to happen, but I don't like buying into breakouts. Actually, sometimes I will if I'm spot buying and, looking to add to a bag. But as far as actual leverage trading, I'm a lot pickier on my entries, and that's where I'd be looking for that pullback. So right now, even if Bitcoin pulled back to 104 all the way down towards 98,000, that would be still be a beautiful uptrend, even on the micro range here. Saying it micro doesn't really feel right since it's the weekly, but it's the micro trend of the weekly, right? So as long as we hold that support there, that confirmed higher low, I mean, things look beautiful. Honestly, even if we got a bit of a swing fail, grabbed the liquidity just below that and faked a bunch of people out, I mean, reclaiming that just a quick wick below, grab that liquidity and retest that level would be just such a beautiful long opportunity, in my opinion. Is it going to happen? I have no idea. It's just that if it happens, I know what I'm kind of looking for. And that's, again, even with this big bearish divergence, which is one of my favorite bearish setups to short, it's lacking that structure and the fact that I think if anything, we get a bullish retest of support and carry on the trend from there. Is it going to happen? I mean, we're just going to have to see what happens, because the market and the market makers clearly do not give a shit about my opinion or how I feel about this market. So they're going to do what they're going to do. But that's kind of what I'm looking for right now if we do see an actual big, significant pullback, right? And that's where people will get very concerned and very scared, is right when we start getting towards that support level. I mean, we see it all the time. Yeah, Plumbus, it would be brutal, but damn you, I'd take it. 100%, right? I think it would blindside a lot of people. It would be quite concerning, and honestly even to myself, right? I'm not immune to those emotions. In my gut, I would have my concerns about that price action, but just sticking to my strategies, I'd be looking at the shorter time frames anyways. But I would absolutely fit into that category of being a little bit concerned. But that being said, since I'm talking about it ahead of time, yeah, I don't think this would even happen for the next couple weeks. I assume if it even happens, it would take several weekly candles to get there, but who knows? But I just like to be ahead of the game here and just looking at structure for what it is. So when the time comes, it really helps put those emotions in check when we've been here talking through this potential scenario, right? So that's something that's definitely on my radar. As well, you know, the 4 hour, there is bearish structure here still on the 4 hour. You know, we did get a nice little reaction here with reclaiming this higher low on the trend, but technically there was a low and a lower low set here, thus confirming this pivot point. And after that, we even confirmed another lower low, right? So at that point, notice I have this fib pulled here, is this was our confirmed lower high on this 4 hour trend. And notice where we ended up finding resistance. Actually, that one wasn't in play yet, sorry, because I pulled it from here to here. But right here, tested the 786 perfectly. And to be fair, maybe that's all the bears have in them, right? It's very possible that we're setting another higher low here. We don't know for sure at this point. But, you know, that bearish structure is still there at this point on this little trend here, just in this little range kind of a thing. But yeah, the two Stuber targets have been hit, so it's very possible that's just kind of, you know, we had that structure, we got the retest of support of the range. That makes sense. So from here, we're going to have to see, right? But let's bring up, I wanted to bring up the Trendmaster indicator. We also have a sell signal with this indicator. Now, again, this is why I don't necessarily think that we're going to turn into a downtrend if we see a correction here, because we have such a significantly higher sell signal on the 4 hour Trendmaster. That's one thing I love looking for, is which way these signals are trending. And at this point, I would assume that at some point we're going to get a higher buy signal on this trend. And, you know, it's very possible that this sell signal plays out beautifully and it is a full swing move. But again, it would just be fighting the trend a little bit, because higher sell signal, obviously you're fighting the trend, right? But that being said, let's pull a fib from where we bottomed with our previous buy signal here. We would have, here's our top right here. And notice that that brings us down. That is actually the same fib that I have on the weekly here. Right, approximately 123K, approximately 123K, and the bottom is 98.1 or whatever, and 98.1, right? So that's that same fib, but that's just how it looks on the 4 hour. And on top of that, guys, let's get rid of the Trendmaster and bring up the ALGO Master. Okay, interesting. That actually switched. Yesterday, the ALGO Master had the exact same fib that I have printed here. So I was going to use that as confluence. It has refreshed for a shorter term move at this point, but it did, I promise you, yesterday it had this same auto Stuber fib laid out. So that was just more confluence. So we're seeing that fib. Indicator had pulled it up yesterday. I have it mapped out that way. It lines up with that Trendmaster confluence. It lines up with the weekly structure. There's a lot suggesting that we could end up dropping down to those levels if this is going to play out just like, once again, guys, it's not that we have to come down to these levels. And, you know, being this is a 4 hour chart, it's not like I'm not taking any trades until we get down there. But if this was a 5-minute chart, this is the type of setup I would be looking for, right? So if we see it on the 4 hour and the weekly, it doesn't necessarily mean there's anything wrong with the market. It doesn't mean that there's weakness. It just means that support is being retested. If we start losing those levels, yeah, at that point, I will have my concerns. You know, yeah, it's absolutely possible we would end up finding support off, let's say, the bottom of this previous range or something like that. But if we actually lose that confirmed higher low and we drop down below 94K, That's a big red flag to me, and I would be willing to be shorting bearish Stuber fibs and that type of trade setup at that point. Like right now, even when I notice these bearish, potentially bearish things on the market, like I didn't short this. I saw the Stuber fib, but I never shorted it because I'm more interested in longing this market right now. But that doesn't always mean that it's always a good time to long, right? So if we do get that pullback, I mean, that's where I'll get pretty excited to start looking for those lower time frame bullish Stubers once again. Bitcoin on, I guess this is the 1 hour here. We did have this one. I saw some people talking about this fib in the chat earlier as I was catching up. So this is the structure that I had mapped out for this bullish Stuber fib. Now I haven't been trading Bitcoin the last while. I've been mostly looking at these types of bullish setups on altcoins, specifically Ethereum and Solana a lot of the times. But this is the structure that I was looking at. I know I also saw it mentioned that, breaking that structure there. So yeah, however you look at it, but just looking at the microstructure on the 1 hour here, you can see that we had this bottom and we did set a slightly lower low. Yes, that's micro-analyzing, but you guys know that that's so often what I look at for a little change in structure and then looking for that bigger pullback later. That's a very typical Stuber fib setup. So however you look at it, we did come back down. We tested that 786 absolutely perfectly, hit the first two Stuber targets, and that's where we got rejected. So from here, where do we go? I don't know. The thing is, I also saw there was a new fib pulled in the chat earlier. It was something like this. I'm just going to erase this other one to clean it up a little bit. In which case, we are still, it hasn't been invalidated yet, especially with a big wick like this. If we would close a green candle like this now, I mean, in my opinion, it would be a good long opportunity for having a nice tight stop loss, because there still might be a little liquidity grabs type of a thing. But so often these wicks fill like this. And if you're finding support inside the retest there, it will often reverse. But that is not an actual Stuber fib. That's looking at playing support. As it's looking at playing the same Stuber fib support, like more so this purple box here. This one right here, we never really had any changes in structure. I guess we got a slight wick above this. But my way of looking at it, guys, is the fact that this Stuber has played out. We are still in that range, and we have not broke this low, and we have not broke this high. So at this point, we're still in the same range until one of those two things happen. So yeah, it's possible that this fib holds as support again, right? Because support is support until it's broken. But I personally like those first tests of those levels, because sometimes as you keep testing a level, it gets weaker and weaker. I really like just going for that initial test, and that's where people have a hard time with trading as well, right? It's hard to stay one step ahead like that. It's hard to catch moves like this if you're not used to pulling these fibs and you're not used to looking at structure like that. But that just comes with experience, right? The more we look at charts, the more you realize that, hey, you want to be buying support and selling resistance. And my way of explaining the Stuber fibs, guys, just for anybody who wants it clarified in their head a little bit, is it's not so much that it's going to play out every time. Obviously, it's not going to. Yeah, it played out here. It hit two targets. Great. It often does. But it's not always going to. No trade setup works all the time. But the whole idea behind this Stuber fib system, you guys, isn't that it's some sort of magical code or anything, but to me, it's more so that people know that if you break resistance, that's a bullish sign. The thing is, most traders long into those breakouts when it's the first time is a bit of a liquidity grab, and then, you retest support after. And this fib setup and this strategy is really just a way of drilling it into my own head and to everyone else's head, is that it's okay to wait for pullbacks, right? Yeah, sometimes breakouts do happen and they go in one straight direction, but the market loves to trade sideways and chop around way more than it likes trending in one single direction. Those breakouts are beautiful when they happen, but Bitcoin, crypto, stocks, everything, Forex, things like to range, right? Ranges form, and ranges are actually, if anything, easier to trade than breakouts because, you know, you have levels there. But yeah, that's the main thing, right? It's basically a way of not YOLOing long into the top, into resistance, just because we're in a little uptrend here, right? We've broke this little downtrend. So at some point, we're going to come back down and retest this. Not always, but so often. And actually, you know what? This one, it would have been very possible that it never did because it already did test one. It tested one significantly earlier. That same structure break there, right? It did actually come back and test the 886 pretty much perfectly and then took off from there, right? So you could have actually got, just from this structure break here, you could have now got two beautiful Stuber setups off that, because you could have got one here. And then obviously as the price went higher, so as that range broke, it's no longer the same range, right? I said I like to play that the first time that we get it. It's actually a different setup completely now, right? Because we broke structure, we continued climbing higher, and then we end up reversing and eventually come back to a 786. So this was a separate play. So yeah, two separate setups off this level. But like I said, at this point, since we're still in this range, I can't really change this fib yet. What is the RSI looking like? It is looking like it's near that, right around that 30 level. So kind of hitting that oversold territory. Not really overextended. Don't really have much of a divergence or anything at this point. What is AI charting tools? We are in a demand zone. That is good to see. I mean, if you're just looking for a tight risk setup with a tight stop loss, I would rather long this than short this at this level, but I don't have a ton of confidence in it either, because like I said, it's not a new Stuber setup or anything like that. Solana, like I said at the start of the stream, I have hit one of my long entries here. We'll see how this ends up playing out, but this is one that I actually mentioned this morning well ahead of time. I think it was somewhere we were trading around here, and I was warning that it's possible we come back down and retest support of this range. Again, we had that nice wick. We had that nice recovery there. I had actually played along on this. Where was that? I know I shared it in my Telegram, but basically, I think it was on the 1 minute. How did this go? Yeah, on the 1 minute, the RSI went extremely oversold. And for the current market conditions, I just wasn't really buying that we were going to go see some crazy capitulation. And then the AI charting tools, although it doesn't have it now because it's been broken, it did form some demand zones right here. So since we started printing new support and new demand along the way after being oversold like that, I ended up calling out along in my Telegram there. Unfortunately, I couldn't say anything on the Discord because as most of you guys know, my phone, I can't get Discord on my mobile for some reason right now. I've tried a bunch of troubleshooting. It's not working. A couple of my other friends that I talk to on Discord are having the exact same issues. I don't know what to tell you, but yeah, I can basically only be on here right now when I'm actually at my computer. At least on my Telegram, I can post stuff while I'm away because most of the analysis I do is just on my phone while I'm on the go anyways. But yeah, anyways, I was warning about this Solana setup. We'll have to see what happens. I've only hit my first entry so far. I have more laddered entries, one at the 886, one just above the double bottom, and one near my 115. If that ends up getting invalidated, my average entry is going to be somewhere in here. And it's a small loss. For what kind of a risk reward are we looking at for something like this? Usually the way I ladder in, I end up pulling my average entry to close to that double bottom territory. Let's even move it up just a little bit. But yeah, if that ends up playing out and we hit the other side of the range there, I mean, that's looking at a 5-to-1 risk reward. Even the Stuber target, if we end up hitting it, that would be still close to a 4-to-1 risk reward. So that's why I'm interested in these types of setups. It's not that it's going to play out every time, but at least your losses are controlled. And that's why I like laddering into positions too, right? I ladder into positions, I ladder out of positions. That's how I trade. So often people will say, I don't know if I should let this position run or I should close it right now. If I ever ask myself that, understand you can usually just close part of your position, close a quarter of it, close a half of it. I always ask myself, if this position right now round trips completely and I go from this amount of profit into getting stopped out, am I going to be upset about it? If the answer is yes, then I should probably start paying myself, update stops, do whatever I have to do. Time for an upgrade. That's the problem. I got a new phone recently, and apparently Discord doesn't like it all that much. It was working for the first couple months, and now all of a sudden not. So, and I absolutely, if you say buy an Apple phone, I absolutely goddamn will not. Sorry to trigger anyone with that whole debate. But yeah, Solana at this point, I still think Solana is going to go for a nice run. I think Solana is going to go to at least $250 in the near future. Maybe 300, maybe all-time highs. We're going to have to see. But my reason for that, you guys, is just basically, you know, Bitcoin ended up getting to all-time high, or not even all-time high, macro resistance with my Stuber fibs. Ethereum has now hit my Stuber fibs, and I feel like Solana would be one of the next ones to end up doing that, and that would put us right around 250 to 270 US dollars. If we end up retesting the highs, that's where we're getting closer to that $300 mark, somewhere in there. Actually, didn't we break 300 before? Maybe not. Maybe it was just really close, or maybe it was a different exchange. Whatever. Either way, I would expect Solana at some point to hit this. Now, obviously, if something ends up spooking the market, we actually do end up topping out and going to the downside. I mean, even that, you guys, even if Bitcoin ended up topping right now, let's say this is the market cycle top. I don't think it is, but if it is, you know, I still think that a lot of altcoins would take turns blasting off here and there. Just seeing that money cycle around a little bit, some sort of an altcoin season still. I know altcoins have been performing quite well recently because, I mean, as Bitcoin's chilling at all-time highs, consolidating, and Bitcoin dominance was dropping off a cliff, altcoins were doing very well, you guys. Ethereum, Solana, Troll, as I was talking about earlier. Yeah, we are going to look at some more altcoins soon. But yeah, Solana, that's basically what I'm looking at right now. I do actually want to check what's the trend master doing. Okay, so same thing with Solana, as I pointed out on Bitcoin, right? There's a sell signal on the trend master on the 4-hour. Buy signal way down here. So kind of that same thing, right? It's very possible we see a much deeper correction and end up retesting the Stuber fib of this much bigger range. And that would actually put Solana back down around 140 US dollars. So, you know, does it have to happen? Absolutely not. Is it possible? Absolutely. Like I said, the market does not give a shit about our feelings. Troll. This is one, I was talking about this one in the micro gems chat a little bit. There was a little bit of what was it? I think it was on the 4-hour I was looking. But I know I had pointed out there was a bit of a downtrend. I think I had it mapped out something like this. I can't remember how I had it. It was either like this or like this, but either way we broke that downtrend line. We also ended up testing that Stuber resistance, right? After we ended up breaking this resistance, we eventually come back down. Look how beautifully, I mean, I was buying Troll in this level. Not that I had any faith in it, but it was a low cap meme coin. I was talking about how I was more bullish on altcoins than I was at Bitcoin at that time. The troll face meme is just one of the most OG memes out there, so I see that it would actually have potential. You can show it to a normie to onboard them and they would look at it and go, yeah, of course that's a meme coin. There would be no explanation needed. And from there, yeah, we've obviously just been forming beautiful support. We have so much demand down here where we ended up finding support and just absolutely blasted off. You guys, this troll coin, since the super fib there from the 886, actually ended up pumping over 500% at this point. Obviously right now it's a little bit less. It's more like 400 and we'll call it 420% there. But yeah, looking beautiful. Obviously it's going to be volatile. Anything that's in price discovery and in this large of ranges, it's going to be very volatile, you guys. Let me just turn the colors off here. Trendmaster, that's what I wanted to look at. This is a beautiful signal. I talk about this in every single stream I do, just like I was talking about earlier, pointing out which way these signals on the Trendmaster are trending. And notice that here we had a buy signal, and this is a higher buy signal, right? Especially, I find this so often, you guys, especially on low cap coins. When you get that on the 4 hour with a higher buy signal, it is such good confluence that, the first time it happens on a coin like that, that is a beautiful sign that things are going to trend upward. Another thing is on the daily. Does this one not have it? Oh, apparently it doesn't have it on the daily. I thought it did for some. Oh, no, that's a different one I'm thinking of. But yeah, either way, on the 4 hour, played out absolutely beautifully. And again, that's after a Stuber retest, forming demand. So this thing is in price discovery. It just kind of reminds me of what Hype was doing, for quite a lot of time now. Even while Bitcoin was struggling, Hype was still just mooning to the upside. So it really didn't care. And that's kind of the type of price action that this has going on right now. So as long as we don't end up dropping this trend, right? On the 4 hour, we have this new confirmed higher low, right? Because we had our high, we had a higher high, confirmed higher low. Oops. Take a look at it on the 4 hour. We actually did end up testing that 786 and hitting the first target there. So, I mean, like I said, I did see this on MEXC, and I am currently in a big, small position, long, huge percentage, long profits at this point on this coin, and I was trading it on MEXC. Now, I personally don't normally trade on MEXC. I just saw it on there, so I traded there, but I'm more interested in this with my spot bags, personally. I've been holding Troll for quite a while now, since that Stuber low, and now I'm just playing it with leverage as well a little bit. So that's a nice volatile one for you guys. This is another one that just caught my attention recently. Project 89. I think it's only like a $15 million market cap. I think, by the way, speaking of that, I think Troll is currently around a $58 million market cap, something like that. Project 86 is around 15 million, so very low market cap. Guys, these are obviously very high risk, right? These are low cap, easily manipulated, big sells come, these things end up getting rugged, whatever. I'm not going to promise you the moon on these things. I just like the structure of this chart, and I threw some of my profits off my troll trade into this, because I just like that structure being it's on a daily like this, and that we flipped, we had it as support back here, support, resistance, and now we're possibly holding it as support. I agree with you, Adrian, that this price action's a little sketchy, how it's just consolidating like that. And in my opinion, there is going to be a big candle. If we lose support, I think we would see a crazy wick before, and then who knows if it actually does skyrocket from there. Or we just, this is just vertical accumulation and we end up getting some sort of a god candle soon. I really wouldn't be too surprised if one of those two things ends up happening soon. I think this is the one. Yeah, this is the one on the Trendmaster, as well as it had its first daily buy signal as it started this trend too. I wish I would have seen this earlier, because my God, it would already be up 200%, and I really don't. I mean, as far as structure goes, it's beautiful. But again, that is getting into the degen stuff. That's the low cap meme coin side of things. But like I said, there's volatility there too, right? So, oh, I would have hit my second entry there on Solana. We will see how this ends up playing out. Like I say, the 4 hour, I really see reason why we could go lower on the 4 hour, but this was a tight enough risk setup. I'm willing to swing at it. Buy an apple. I'll buy the fruit apple. Let's put it this way. When I was an 18-year-old idiot, I was working tech support there, and I feel like if someone like me, working there drunk and hungover all the time, was solving people's problems, I mean, I just don't I don't trust calling their customer support or anything. Apple suck. Yeah, honestly, I just don't prefer it. I feel like Apple restricts you with too much stuff. No, I've tried with and without VPN. I'm going to have to try a few more things, but I haven't done the full reinstall yet. I want to make sure I have my password and stuff. Yeah, don't get me wrong. I'm only kidding about the Apple stuff that, I think they do have good products. It's just that you just have your preference, right? I'm scared of change. I'm not changing what I know. Ooh, have I covered Ethereum? I have not. And also hype. I need to look at two things. All right, Ethereum. I'm glad you mentioned that because I did want to look at Ethereum because I have an alert set and I am waiting for a lower Stuber fib. I actually mentioned this on... I did a public stream on Financial Summit a couple days ago and I had mentioned this, and yeah, I just set an alarm here that if we start getting close to that level, I want to start checking in on some lower time frames to see what's happening. And that would be starting around 3,600 USD. And the 886 would be about 35.55. Double bottom would be 35.05, and that swing fail wiggle room kind of down to that 34.40. So yeah, it's a fairly big range, but that's what happens when things get volatile. ALGO Master. I have this ALGO Master set up different. Just looking at Bollinger Bands here. They are expanding, so it is calling for some volatility. So, again, I think we do end up seeing that Stuber fib down there. In which case, if that happens, my Solana long will probably get stopped out, but that's fine. In that case, I'll be checking out Ethereum on some shorter time frames when we get down to that level. 3,600 is the target Chaos had as well. Nice. I would love to see us bounce there. I'm really on the fence. Like, I have the alert set. I don't have orders set on that. I want to check out what the shorter time frames are doing, because if we just end up blasting right down through, I would love to look for a swing fail opportunity. But if it looks like the shorter time frames are starting to build something as we're at these higher levels, then I'll have to reconsider and look at getting into it a little sooner. Bitcoin is now getting very close to the 886 that I have mapped out here. The 4 hour. Yeah, still have that sell signal. Volume point of control is above Bitcoin on the 4-hour. The liquidations band is also now above us on the 4-hour. Liquidation levels, there is more to the downside, but there is starting to be some to the upside as well. So a little bit of conflicting signals there just because there's kind of liquidity all around us right now. AI charting tools starting to print some more supply zones, right? We have all these red boxes are now recent, and we haven't printed any recent green boxes, any demand, anything like that yet. So we've just been taking out some demand zones on the way down, if anything. So yeah, we might take a little tumble yet. We'll see. Hype. I had mentioned I wanted to take a look at. What do I all have mapped out here? I have not looked at this for a while. Would this one have played out? Yeah, that would have played out, I suppose. I'm just going to remove all the drawings because I haven't looked at this in a little while. I want to get my bearings once again. I would consider pulling something like this if we're going to see a much deeper curve. Ooh, that would be a big one though. I don't know if we go that low, but it's possible, and that would be down to 35 to 33 US dollars. What do we have going on? ALGO Master. Yeah, the bands are starting to split a little bit. Volatility might be about to increase there. Trend Master. Yeah, no surprise. Everything kind of looks the same, right? We have those sell signals. And actually, that's the thing, that fib that I mapped out, it does line up with these buy and sell signals, right? Because we're still printing higher sell signals, higher buy signals, but the previous higher buy signal, I mean, where we pivoted there was down at this basically around 31 US dollars. And yeah, just pulling from there to where we've topped out so far. It is possible that it plays out. Yeah, I don't have a clear read on this right now. It could be more so from this pivot point, in which we'd be looking at the support of this range, not quite as low. But it's just a little bit riskier, right? Because even at that point, if we end up dropping this support, then it's just possible we're coming down to the support pulled from down here, and then you start kind of swinging at the same trade the whole way down. So that gets a little risky. So the 4-hour, that's a tough one. Point of control is above us. AI charting tools, same thing, right? Printing lower high, lower low. We've actually broke this lower low, so I'm actually surprised this doesn't have a lower high signal yet. It may not even end up printing one, either way. Below the weekly open, below the daily open, printing overlapping supply zones. The good news is we do have some potential support down here, right? We have these overlapping green boxes, even though it's just a little guy here. There is potential support here. There is obviously some good demand. So, maybe that's not a crazy idea, pulling the fib from more so from this high, or that low rather. It's just not super obvious to me. I would love to confidently pull this fib right now. The only reason why I don't feel super confident on that fib and waiting for that one is just because there was technically a different structure change, right? It's not that we just had this and then a nice clean higher high. We actually had this little bit of structure forming in here. So no matter how you look at it, we set some sort of a higher high in here, and then another higher high, and therefore we actually lost that uptrend, right? So it's just not a super clean break with a bullish Stuber there. I see the structure there, it's just not super clean, so it's just not jumping out at me as an obvious trade is all. 32 to 33.50 for Ethereum, but seems dreamy at the moment as Ethereum is strong. Yeah, that's kind of around that level I was looking at, though, just a little bit deeper of a liquidity grab. I could see it. We'll have to see. Big wick on Bitcoin incoming. Very possible. Very possible right now. But again, so far we are at support, right? So as long as Bitcoin doesn't drop below basically 113.9 thousand, like this is one opportunity where I would take a long on Bitcoin is if I see us go down here and see some low time frame candles starting to close and not breaking the 115. I would swing at a long on something like that just for the sake that the risk reward would be so ridiculous. Sometimes I do that if I see that we're really close to a valid 115 invalidation zone. Sometimes I'll just take the trade just based on that alone, because that's where you start getting into those, you know, closer to 9-1, 12-1 risk reward ratio. So that's where you can get those real tight stop losses, as long as you have the proper structure for it, right? And in this case, like, it is still my Stuber range setup, so I would still accept this as valid price action basically, and I'd be willing to swing at that just for the risk reward alone. Interesting there, Chaos. Daily for hype is just down. Money flow is literally out on the daily. Let's bring up the daily. I'm also going to remove that. What do we have here? Yeah, the RSI is taking a tumble. Trendmaster. Oh, Trendmaster is right at support. And that is that first buy signal ever. Obviously, that's already played out beautifully. That's one of the main reasons, actually, other than Adrian and Zeus talking about hype a bunch. Other than that, this signal was a big reason why I bought a bunch around $18. So the fact that we are technically right around that support right now, basically hype needs to make a decision right now. Like very soon here. If it goes much lower, it's in dangerous territory there. C-Pool. I will look at C-Pool. Did we look at that last week? Or sorry, not last week. I wasn't here. The week before, I think we looked at C-Pool. And I know I was meaning to buy some, and I never did. I think this is the chart we were looking at. Oh, this is a dirty chart. I don't know how I feel about it. Sorry, let me just let me get my bearings here. Let me take a quick glance at this guy. So on the daily, it's very nice that we came back to an obvious Stuber fib, right? We are still technically trading in there. I really wish this would have just went a little higher, because at that point we would have a new smaller Stuber to go off of. The way it is right now, it's hard to say, right? I mean, either way, we're at obviously a macro support area. It's just that something like this is obviously so volatile that it could easily drop 50% and still have still be in support, right? So as far as the daily, I have my concerns with where it got rejected rather than setting a higher high. I would have loved to see a higher high there. Trendmaster, we have a buy signal. We're technically right around the the bottom of this indicator, this invalidation zone basically, and it is a lower buy signal. I have my concerns. If it breaks this level, if it breaks this sell signal, which would also be that resistance we've already tested a couple of times, that would be a great sign of strength. I think if we break that, especially if we can get a nice SR flip kind of a thing, that would be absolutely beautiful. there's still the chance that there would be a liquidity grab with the rejection, but if it's actually going to flip that. But what can I find on the shorter time frames? Let's hop into the 4 hour. Ooh, that was a nice sell signal. Again, it's a higher sell signal, right? So on the 4 hour, there is a nice Stuber here. See, because we obviously, I mean, if you're looking at the microstructure, we obviously broke that, and we never did retest support after that. So it is very possible it's just coming down for a retest. What else? ALGO Master. Yeah, see, the bands open up. That meant incoming volatility, basically. Never even saw a bunch of trade volume come in. I guess that's probably because of the coin that it is. Trendmaster, yeah, that sell signal. So if I pull a fib from here, that's using that confluence of, since we have this higher sell signal, pulling a fib from where we bottomed with our last buy signal. So that would bring us back down, well, just below 11 cents. 886 would be around 0.97 ish. I don't really want to see these lows lost unless it's a swing fail liquidity grab where it gets reclaimed quickly. In that case, that would be an absolute beautiful buy opportunity. But yeah, as far as support goes, I don't really want to see it lose this. I'd rather see a higher low set. If we could retest the 786 and bounce from there, I think that would be a nice sign that the bulls are stepping in and we're forming an uptrend, setting a higher low. It wouldn't be confirmed until this high was taken out, but at least it would be a sign that, you know, the bulls are stepping in early. Yeah, that's very true. The harder it is to take the trade, the better they normally turn out. Yeah, exactly. And that's why most people fail at trading, right? Is because trading is not comfortable. If you're doing what it looks like, chances are you're wrong. Until you've looked at enough charts, and like I said at the start, you understand buying support, selling resistance, rather than buying breakouts and shorting support. Yeah, chaos. I see that there is a CME gap that goes down to about 114.3 thousand. 114,315 approximately. So yeah, again, I think it makes a lot of sense that Bitcoin could take a little tumble. 114.3. So that, yeah, that would be right in. That would be a perfect liquidity grab, right? Just below our lows here, and then reclaim that level. That would be beautiful. Started edging back in at 13.5 area. Lowest buy is at 8 cents. Yeah, that's on C-Pool. Yeah, that makes sense. Buying into support, right? I like it. Hopefully it's not the start of a bear market and we're all going to get blindsided. If that happens, I'll be with you at this point. Maz wants Fartcoin, por favor. Alrighty. Now we're talking. I haven't looked at this for a very long time, but I can tell you what's jumping out at me already. We are currently right at the start of support. So it could go lower, but notice, see, this is one of those times where we do have a nice clean break, right? There was no extra chop up here. We just set high, higher high, confirmed higher low. And this is the start of our support. So as long as the market is going to continue to the upside, you know, I would hope support steps in fairly soon. Basically now between 98 cents and, oh, that's actually a big range. This thing's volatile because the invalidation of the setup is way down around 66 cents. So what's that, like a 30%, yeah, 33% correction to the downside yet to invalidate that? If that happens, we need to revisit the possibility that we are testing some much lower levels. The macro fib from the lows, I don't really think this is going to happen yet, but who knows, right? The macro support would start around 52 cents down towards 20 cents. Oof. That's the thing with these memers, these super volatile memers, is, you know, when you actually look at the ranges, if you're allowing wiggle room and, you know, invalidation zones and stuff, like, man, those are some big percentage swings. And that's where it's like, well, all of a sudden when you start losing support, you've actually lost the majority of what you had in the coin, even in a case like this. So it's always important to take profits along the way, right? That's where when something like this, let's say you were in from significantly lower, I'm just picking that as a random spot. But here, for example, if you see this, you know, we're just wicking above resistance, getting that little bit of a swing fail. Not really the perfect divergence that I would look for on the RSI, but either way, a clean swing fail there, I would be looking at taking some profits, right? Just because it's potentially getting rejected. I wouldn't panic sell out of my whole position, especially, and even though, like, I think it's a bit of a bull market / altcoin season, so I personally wouldn't be interested in shorting this, even though it would have played out perfect. But taking profits, that's, you know, when there's just any warning sign like that, not necessarily a bad idea. Solana still hovering right around my 886 there. If it's bear, we come back stronger next time. That depends what coin you're looking at. A lot of coins do not survive the bear. Next bull market has a totally different narrative. Different things take off. Oh, us. Yes, absolutely. Not necessarily the coins. Some of them, right? Like I've been hearing lately, guys, that the experts are saying XRP is going to $10,000 to $60,000 per coin. So I mean, by the way, if you just heard me say that, please know that I do not believe that. I somehow don't believe XRP is going to have a $6 quadrillion market cap when all of crypto has about a $3 trillion market cap. It's not impossible. The money printer does not need to shut off. They could print $6 quadrillion and inject it straight into XRP, a private financial thing that somebody created. Why wouldn't they do that? I actually think, I actually know for a fact, and I might regret this one, but I remember saying that I would live stream myself writing down my words and eating my own words if XRP hit even $10 this cycle. I will write down my words and eat them. It could easily reach 10. I just really like the taste of paper and crayons. Yeah, troll. Just. Oh, I'm really tempted to add to my troll long, but I really like having that trophy percentage sitting there. I might have to add into it. And then bump up my stop, I guess. Because that would also lose the 5-minute trend, right? Setting higher buys, higher sells. 4 with a bunch of 8s seems like a good stop loss. Oh, my cat's losing her shit. All right. Paper hands troll. Oh no. I think I started selling a little bit of troll today into this guy. But I think I'm up 5x currently, probably 5 to 6x on troll. I have a feeling, and obviously, guys, this is not me shilling it. I have zero faith in meme coins. Well, not zero, but I have very little faith in anything going for long. Like, I don't know. I just feel like it's not even that. It's just meme coins, I just don't have a ton of faith in for the long term. Like, I think they're great. I think they'll be around. I think they're fun. I see the value in them in the sense that they're fun. But I would it's not like I think the project is amazing, anything like that. It's just that troll face meme is such an OG meme, and it's still only like $50 million market cap. I could see that being one of those things that ends up being in the billions, right? Because like I said earlier at the start of the stream or before the stream, whatever, it's one of those coins that you can go to a normie, a non, or someone who's brand new into crypto, and if they say, hey, what meme coin should I buy? Oh, I recognize troll face. That's hilarious. Like, yeah, I remember that face for the last however many decades. So it's one of those ones that's just there's no explanation needed, and to see it trending so beautifully is it's great. Who says it can't be $1 billion market cap? I am not saying it's going to $1 billion market cap, but it's very possible. You know, when if we do get a crazy altcoin season and we get that meme coin cycle where shit is just going off, yeah, I see no reason why that one wouldn't take off. Yeah, would. Um, is that on TradingView or would that be more of a deck screener thing? Oh yeah, there we go. Would. Um, is this the right one? Seems like it has a lot of structure. Stock poker, I noticed you in there. I was gonna comment. Welcome. Good to see you. Hopefully the poker life's treating you good. Love to see that on X or Twitter or whatever you want to call it. I see you're active on there, posting stuff all the time. Love to see it, bro. Um, oh man, look what happened as soon as we lost high or low. Just straight nuke down for wood. Mm, that wick makes it hard to break a lower low, lower high kind of a thing. At this point, this would be basically the level that I would want to see broken for any confirmation that the downtrend is breaking. That's on the 4 hour. And I will check out Pepe in a sec stock. What else do we got here? Let's bring up Trendmaster. Oh boy. So here was one of those times, guys. We started printing lower sell signals, lower buy signals. That was a big red flag. There's a reason why I love noticing that on the Trendmaster indicator, because just like the name suggests, right? Trendmasters. So when you see those signals start changing directions, it's a warning that, you know, the trend may be shifting. Not always, you know, it was very possible that we would have just went like this, invalidated this lower sell signal and carried to the upside. That's a part of trading too, right? Doesn't always happen. But as far as a beautiful warning, I mean, here was one, and here was one. Even here was one. Those, all three of those were big warnings that there was going to be a shift in trend, or could be a shift in trend rather. Let's zoom right in. This might be one of those coins that doesn't have much volume and looks like really weird charts. Hey, higher buy signal, lower sell signal, mixed signals there. What's the 1 hour looking like? Same structure. That same resistance is the level that I need to see broken to break the downtrend currently. Oh, man. Oh, boy. Yeah, even here, like, yeah, lower sell signals, still lower buy signals, even with the higher, yeah, I had a little bit of conflicting signals in here, but then once again, the lower trending signals just absolutely took off again. Ooh, that thing's in a serious downtrend right now. I love the meme, but I won't be buying it right now. Troll trying to find support off my 886 here. Let's go. ETH still working its way down towards my 786. Solana still chilling at my 886. I don't have a lot of faith in this Solana trade. I have my concerns about it. But we'll see. We will see. I should start trading with the same size positions on Troll as I have been with Sol and Ethereum. Hustle, I will take a look at. Sorry, I gotta play catch up here. Got a little sidetracked here. Pepe is what I said I was going to look at. It is technically did just fill this wick though, so we'll have to see. But yeah, I agree. It looks like it could go lower. I would not at all be surprised to see Pepe drop to one of these. And honestly, the shitty part about this is, once again, we never did take out this high back here. So it is a little risky. That being said, you know what? Since this is where our downtrend started, and we've obviously broke that downtrend. So yeah, at this point, I would still hope to see support step in this range. I don't know how many zeros are there, but basically from 97 down to 90, that would be your 786 to 886. 8282 being double bottom, and that swing fail down towards 73. If we end up losing that, then I guess we would have to end up pulling the fib from the lower swing point, and this would be our much larger range, right? There's always smaller ranges inside bigger ranges, inside bigger ranges, inside bigger ranges. Be buying bags of Pepe wicks down there. Yeah, I don't blame you. Pepe is one of those ones that it's just like Doge and Shib and Bonk and all, you know, all those. They've kind of made a name for themselves. They're probably not going anywhere. They'll be around. Hustle. I will look at Hustle. know I looked at this last night, actually. Or is this a Solana? Yeah, this is a Solana. Oh. Is it not on? Oh yeah, this is the right one, right? 2.4 cents, basically. Yeah, this looks right for what I was looking at yesterday. Yeah, so this basically on the 1 hour, we are getting close to support. We have tested the 786. It is still in a nice uptrend, right? The uptrend hasn't been broken. One thing, this would be very dirty. This is so micro-analyzing that I don't really want to count it. But technically, there's that wick there. And that could mean that this was the confirmed higher low that ended up breaking. In which case, this support may not hold. Again, I don't know how much credit I want to give that one little stubby wick there, but it's making things a little bit messy, and it just means that it is me being picky, but it just kind of messed up my opinion a little bit. Trendmaster, we still have a buy signal. We are below this pink line here. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that one, to be honest. This fib does line up with this buy signal. So I see mixed signals on this one, honestly. I can't give you a strong opinion. I mean, technically, yeah, we're getting closer to support, right? I would rather be buying it or longing it in this support level rather than shorting into it, for example. But I don't know if it's going to hold. What is... The RSI is not really close to oversold yet. Not that it has to get there or anything, but you know, that's another thing. If this was looking extremely oversold as we were trading into support, I would give that a little extra credit. But to me, it looks like we could still see stronger sell strength come in. So yeah, I have mixed feelings on that one. SPX 6900. This one was absolutely on a mission, was it not? So this is... I have literally only looked at this once in my life, I think. But let's see. I'm going to try and find a random support line. So we could have support coming in somewhere in here. Around $1.40 if we drop that level. I would want to see how it reacted with that line. I don't like to set blind orders on trend lines like that. But I like to... basically treat them as swing fails, right? Just like I do with horizontal levels. If, you know, we have a couple touch points there and the third touch point ends up grabbing some liquidity and being reclaimed, I'll consider taking a trade off something like that. But yeah, I'm just grasping for things to notice here. So we have that potential support. Trendmaster, we are basically right at support of this buy trend at this time. So we do still have a strong uptrend. I'll give it that. But it is starting to... Oof. It did just drop this micro higher low, I guess, on this immediate trend. It is the daily chart, so again, it's one of those times I don't really like calling it the micro, but it's just the micro trend of the daily. Technically, we lost that higher low. So I think from here it can go lower. I'm hoping to see support step in somewhere around there. If not, I don't know. Let's bring up AI charting tools. So there is a lot of demand. So that would be one of those things. It would be beautiful if we saw us do something like that where we ended up testing a demand zone, reclaiming this kind of a thing. But At least there is support on the way if we do drop lower. But again, we did just lose. I'm going to consider that a fairly important level of structure there. This is a red flag to me. Potential support. I don't really see much else. Also, notice we had that big old bearish divergence on the RSI. Again, just like with Bitcoin on the weekly, it doesn't have a double top with it or anything, but this one has actually lost the higher low on the trend, so that's a little concerning to me. I think it can go lower. Let's check out the 4 hour. Here, I want to make sure this is exactly yeah, red flag. So yeah, we do have some more potential demand zones here, all these green boxes that we built on the way up, but I would like to see us get some sort of a bounce and then start creating new green boxes below us as we go, just showing that demand is building below us as we start trending up. Right now, we've obviously more so recently created these supply zones, causing resistance, causing us to sell off. RSI is getting a little bit into the oversold on the 4 hour, but again, I think it could go a little lower. Trendmaster also has a sell signal. Maybe that's all it had. We're gonna have to see. I want to zoom in a little bit. What's the 1 hour doing? See, like on the way up, the 1 hour did a beautiful job of building support here. It's just that, again, we have such a strong downtrend happening right now. I wouldn't want to really YOLO into a long, for example. If it's something that you're dollar cost averaging into and you're comfortable with, sure, at least there is some support around here. But I really do think that this can go lower. You know what? Even if the 5 minute could invalidate something like this, invalidate the supply zone, it would also break this very micro structure, right? The fact that we had this low, we went slightly lower. This is the lowest point or the highest point between the two. At that point, at least there's some sort of a downtrend break. Yeah, mixed feelings. It has a strong uptrend on the longer time frames, but there's some warning signs that it may have been broken a little bit. What else? Let me just catch up on the chat here. Doge. I will check out Doge. Yeah, Doge has definitely been building some supply zones on the way down. Apparently, I have something mapped out here. Let me just zoom out a little bit. Oh, I see Maz had to leave already, but I think this was mapped out for him, actually, from a couple weeks ago. But it looks like whatever I had mapped out here, it did play out. So at this point, since we have now set a higher high, that's where I would like to pull a fib. Honestly, since they're so close together, I would consider leaving it here. Either way, the top is going to go up a little bit. This is more so the current trend, Stuber, on this little uptrend that we have. The only thing is, once again, just like I pointed out on, I think, Bitcoin earlier or something earlier, is even if we end up dropping this level, then we just have a slightly bigger range anyways. So it's one of those times, if anything, if I was worried about missing the long, I would start laddering in with the smaller fib and then, you know, work my way into the bigger fib, something like that. But as it stands right now, I mean, this one looks fairly good to me. That previous one obviously played out, and since we hit a higher high here, I mean, I'm just pulling a fib from the lowest point between the two, right? So yeah, I agree. I think Doge could go a little bit lower. Um, um, Bitcoin's seeing a little bit of a bounce, you say? Oh yeah, right off that 886. What is Solana went a little lower. That might have hit my third entry. Sorry, just checking things out, making sure stops are in place. Perfect. Yeah, so I have one order left. My biggest order of the bunch is down here yet. And that would bring my average price down a little bit, but currently my average price is right around where we're at right now. We are at 171.64. We'll see what happens there. For comfort's sakes, I would love to see us just moon from here. But for the long-term plan, I would love to see us just grab that one last entry and then take off. It's just that even if it is just a liquidity grab and we do come down that little bit extra, something to consider is then we do technically have a lower low. So although if we reclaim that, it's quite likely we get some sort of a bounce, it's also very likely that we don't go to new highs right away. Whereas if we keep this as a slightly higher low, then I think it's very possible that we end up breaking these highs. Watching the 5 second on Bitcoin. I have done that before. That is stressful. That is stressful. Zero. Yes. I have us at the 886. The one thing I was talking about earlier in the stream is technically this Stuber fib has played out once already, so there is a little bit of added risk involved when you're playing it a second time. Support is still support until it's broken. But yes, this did already play out once where we touched the 786 and hit the first two targets. So it's possible that we downtrend from here. But yeah, I do have one mapped out there, and we did test the 886 if this is what you were looking at. Right on. But yeah, like I said, it has played out, so everything's kind of hovering right in that pocket. I have the most faith in Troll playing out right now as far as my positions. I have more faith in this low cap shitty meme coin than I have in my Solana position, just because this is such a strong uptrend. I mean, this thing broke the hell out. If I bring out the ALGO Master, so I was talking about using the ALGO Master, the Bollinger Bands here with the volume to show when volatility's kicking in. And obviously these bands just split apart like this, showing that volatility was coming in. And we just broke to the upside, right? Started chasing the upside of that range. And that goes with, like I was talking about earlier, we had this beautiful, the whole macro Stuber fib, which found support beautifully. And as well, the trend master, we ended up getting that higher buy signal. So everything is trending so beautifully on this. Even though it's a meme coin and it's a fairly low cap, like I said, I think it's around 50 million or so right now. But it's in price discovery, right? It's smashed through its all-time highs, and it is just setting new highs. So if it ends, if this long, if the rest of it gets, like I said, I'm closing the rest of it if this invalidates basically. If that happens, there's potential for a bigger pullback. But again, as soon as structure starts changing on the lower time frames, I would be looking for long in it again, basically, just because I don't see any pullbacks lasting too long at this point, just because it is such a strong trend. This would have been one time where it did lose. It was micro, but technically we had a high there and we went slightly higher, thus confirming this. We dropped it, but we never did start a downtrend there. It's happened a few times, so there was good strength there, and there still is. And that trend master, even if we fall a little bit, I mean, we have strong support below us. Got demand zones lining up with indicator buy trends. So yeah, even if it drops a little bit, I think it's okay. I'm okay to close the rest of that position if need be. It doesn't owe me anything at this point. When I first, like I was talking about earlier, when I first opened this position on Troll, it was right around 33 or 3.3 cents. Yeah, it was somewhere in here. I think it was right when we broke this. I ended up taking a long somewhere in here. And that's where I started my long yesterday. Like I said, I've kind of taken profits and added back into the position a couple of times, and it's still running. So the percentage isn't, well, right now my average entry isn't even close to as low as it was there. But if I was still in that exact first trade, it would be, well, since it was 10x, it would be currently sitting around a 700 and some percent profit. But which is what it was at when I was taking profits earlier today. But Troll moving nicely. I really want to see this thing moon again. Plumbus overall still bearish, but you were bearish at 119, not just now. Yeah, that's fair. A lot of good meme tokens are having large runs at the moment. I've had moonbags do their jobs past week, so worth noting. Yeah, you bought my bag. Thank you. You sold somewhere back here, like at the start? Oh, you sold here. I see what you're saying. Um, I didn't. Well, I didn't buy yours. I longed there though. I bought my spot bags down here. Most of it, anyways. But I get what you're saying. Yeah, just so much support on the way up. The bands are starting to open up a little bit. Nothing crazy, but there is more buyer or more seller volume than buy volume coming in right now. We'll see which wins. The money flow on the ALGO master in the bands or the Stuber fib. We'll find out. Although I guess, again, I forgot that earlier. I had mentioned this did already play out once, right? Hit the 786 and tested the 0.5 fib. And although, yeah, that's a small move, what is it actually on something like this? That's almost a 10% move, you guys. That little pump off that 786, that was a 16% move. Thing's volatile as fuck. One of the reasons why I held on to Tron, or not Tron, Tron's one of my biggest fumbles ever. Troll, rather, is because of that daily band break. I was actually, I think I was looking at it on a different indicator though. Yeah, I was looking at just, this is actually a bit of a strategy my dad taught me recently. But yeah, basically the band spread out and we broke above, got this breakout on a daily candle close, and that just kind of confirmed that, you know, I think this thing's got legs. And with the volatility of these bands spreading apart and breaking out like that, beautiful momentum there, right? So, and at this point on the daily here, this now means that we have a new confirmed higher low. So even if there is, and that's a pretty big pullback, to be honest, that's over 50% from here. Yeah, well, 50% pretty much exactly. That would be healthy. That would be healthy structure on the daily to retest that. Doesn't have to. We know how meme coins can get when they're low market caps, and in the right market situations, in the right scenarios, they don't always like to pull back. So we'll see. Ethereum's still working towards it. Solana still making me nervous on this one, but we'll see. Oh no. Oh no. Just accidentally in the wrong frickin' charts now. Where the hell did Troll go? For, well, that's strange. Whatever. Oh, I know why. Troll Soul. There we go. There we go. Of course, of course. So stupid. Yeah, so far holding that fib pocket. Oh, that makes me feel better. Talking about fumbles, back in 2014, you owned 1% of Dogecoin supply. And 2 days after BNB launch, you bought 100,000 BNB at 7 cents. Oh, man. Yeah. I feel a little better about myself now. Thank you. My biggest ones would actually also, BNB would be a big one, but I sold it at around, I want to say like $45 US or something at a handful. And Cardano, I definitely had hundreds of thousands of them and sold between 2 and 3 cents, I think. Tron, I know I also had hundreds of thousands of, and I think I sold at like under 10 cents for sure. When using the fibs, do I set my stop loss at the 115? I like to leave wiggle room. That's a baseline for remembering to leave some space. Like I said, in this case, I have my stop loss on the rest of this position, which will be a profit anyways, but I have my stop at 4 with a bunch of 8s. So just leaving a little bit of wiggle room there. But yeah, I'm in this position since yesterday, so it'll be profitable either way. But yeah, that's typically what I do. I usually leave some wiggle room if there's even any even numbers or structure nearby or anything like that that can just push the stop loss a little further. 115 is just a reminder. That's my swing fail zone basically, that if we start finding support in there, sometimes I'll just open long positions in there just because the risk reward is so tight, as long as it's a valid setup like this. But as soon as we drop below that, even if we bounce, I'm assuming that it's a short-lived bounce. I front run all my other fibs a little bit, like the 786, and the 786 is my smallest and first entry. I usually do something like this. With these two positions being the bigger ones, like quite often I'll do like 20%, 20%, 30%, and 30%, so that I can drop my average entry down significantly, and that tightens up, because every trade setup loses trades, and it's not about winning every trade, but you got to control your losses, right? And that's where laddering into positions can help reduce that loss. And that doesn't mean I'm doubling down, tripling down, quadrupling down on my position, right? That means that I have a position size in mind, and rather than putting it all at the 786, I'm breaking it up. But also understand that that's only with certain structure breaks and stuff too. So before you go and try and trade someone else's strategy, be sure to do some back testing. If you're going to throw money on any kind of a trade situation, you should be doing some back testing and making sure that you are seeing the same types of setups. Make sure that it is working out for you. Like I said, there's times where, if you don't see it the first time and you see it the second time and you try playing it, maybe it's not going to work out as good because there's added risk involved there if it's already played out once. So that's where back testing is important, right? Find out if it works for you. If your eye isn't able to catch it, then it's not, like, everyone trades differently, right? We could have the same fibs, the same trend lines, the same indicators, absolutely everything the same, and I guarantee you we would trade this market completely different. Oh, we are just at a standstill right now. Troll is trying to move. Oh, I'm cutting in and out. Oh no, is the stream getting silly? Oh, before. Yeah, exactly. That's why these streams are so good. I agree with what Plumbus said. Not mine personally, just all of them, right? It's just seeing how other people look at things. That's what's so valuable about sitting in on, multiple of the mentors' streams, you guys, is not everyone likes to trade the same, right? As I was just talking about, maybe you trade more like someone else, like Adrian. I've mentioned that I know you and I look at charts very similar, right? So some people look at things one way, whereas another group of people may look at something completely different, right? All depends what works for you. That being said, guys, I have to take off here. I have food to eat and stuff to do, people to see, things to do, things to burn outside, all those sorts of good things. Adrian, what's up?
Hey, sorry for jumping in. Before you go, I'm gonna stretch your leg a little bit. Did you finally manage to make an account on Hyperliquid? Or do I need to
I've
kick your
traded on
ass?
Hyperliquid before.
Good. Have a look on Pearl.
Um, I I haven't traded there in probably about 2 months, but I've definitely played around with it a little bit. I do like it.
Okay, good. I'm happy about it. So now you need to have a look on Pearl. Ticker Pearl.
Per.
Yeah. The only thing is on the trading view Pearl, it's gonna be only on Maxi and Gate. Those are fine, but they have shitloads of big ass wicks. They do not have it on Hyperliquid. So just
Oh,
consider without the wicks.
I gotcha. I'm not gonna try and load that up right now on a different exchange or anything.
No, don't worry. You can do it on TradingView, but then
I, I've
I'm gonna yeah, you can use Maxi. That's fine.
I've seen a
So you
lot of
see
you
those
guys.
big ass wicks?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so don't consider them. Think that they are not there because they are not on Hyperliquid.
Oh
Like
okay.
that, you should trade it.
Interesting. Yeah, I've seen you guys talking about this one a little bit, but again, like I said, I just kind of play catch up a little bit when I get to my
Mm.
computer. But yeah, that is one I should start following a little bit. Hey.
Yeah, that's one is that if that's gonna pop, then good. And me and Zeus aiming a little bit for 0.16 first, and the rest, let's see if we're gonna go higher to $1. First
Ooh,
thing, it's gonna be 0.6 for
nice.
sure. We are
I'm
aiming.
gonna check it out on Dex Screen or something. Would it be on that?
Hmm. Not sure.
Oh, I'll check it
Could
after
be. I
the
didn't
stream.
check. I didn't check to be honest with you,
Okay.
so I'm not sure about it, but it could be.
Well, I'll
But yeah,
check it
have a
out
good have a
after.
look on that one. It's could be good.
Interesting. Yeah, it's on KuCoin, but same thing with the charts, right? It's just not.
Yeah, will be the same.
Yeah.
Hyperliquid we have the most volume on it, so the rest of the exchange they don't have. They cannot provide a volume on it. So the wicks are horrendous. Them beginning, yeah, same shit.
It doesn't look like they're well, other than these crazy
Yeah,
wicks, I guess. Yeah,
exactly.
yeah. I see what you're saying. Um. Oh, lower sell signal. But yeah, yeah. I'll keep my eye on that one. I'll start looking at that one a little bit, maybe. Troll's working for that. Really making its push for that first target there. That might be, yeah, Solana doesn't look like it's doing so hot. Well, unless it grabs my last one. I'm really hoping that 115 holds. This is one of those things where, like, for example, if you go to the 1 minute and we see candles go down to here and start closing, that's where you can get a very tight stop loss, right? Not saying it's going to work out, but that's where the risk reward on something like that, if we are going to go back to the top of the range, where that's a big risk reward on something like that, right? That's not what I'm currently laddering into or anything, but that is the type of move where I will swing at those just for the sake of that ridiculous. That would be 20 to 1 if the whole range played out. But again, I wouldn't just YOLO a position in. I would wait to see if we actually stop there a little bit and get some sort of a reaction. But I might lose on my Stuber setup. But something like this and just taking new positions down here would be a much tighter stop. But again, everything on the 4 hour, I still really feel like a lot of things look like they want to go down a little bit. I have a feeling that most of the market is going to trend down a little. Like I said, there's just a lot of Trendmaster sell signals. There's a lot of bullish Stuber fibs significantly lower. There's just a lot of things lining up. So we'll see. I would love to just straight up moon from here, but there's some warnings in the charts. Like I said, that 4-hour fib lines up with the weekly fib. It doesn't mean the market's weak. It just sometimes the market likes to retest support is all right. So I don't really think anything looks all too bad. This bearish divergence again on the weekly. I gotta bring that to your attention one more time. That does concern me a little bit, but since we didn't lose a higher low or anything yet, I'm just, and by the way, this is not a higher low for me because we would need to set another higher high for that to be confirmed. Since we don't have that, at least we don't have that structure break with that RSI divergence, but it is still on my radar. It is still worth considering that this could push us significantly lower, right? And I have a feeling we're going to see that. We shall see. But very bullish on the trend of the market as a whole right now, specifically altcoins. It's just that I got to be realistic, and pullbacks are very natural. So whether or not it happens, I guess we'll find out soon. But anyways, legends, I think that's about all I wanted to go over today. So hopefully you guys found this stream useful. Those of you guys who are watching this on my YouTube channel a little later, if you want access to the MDX ALGO indicators, there's a 10% discount link in the description down below. And with that, I'm out. Stay safe, my friends. Peace.